Hi fans, and welcome once again to the Coach's Corner here on the campus of West Virginia State University. I'm your host, Lee France. This week we'll recap the Yellow Jackets' 34-21 loss to Virginia State University this past Saturday, talk to senior wide receiver Jermaine King, and then set up this week's matchup against arch rival Charleston. But first, we bring in head coach Earl Monroe, as we always do, to talk about last week's game against the Trojans. Coach, another tough loss again for the Yellow Jackets.
Yeah, it's getting pretty frustrating. The kids played hard again. They did not quit, so we're proud of that. But we've got to get in the win column.
And the running game, once again, wasn't there for you against Virginia State. Just a few yards, 45 yards, I think it was. I don't know, when does it become a major concern for you? And then because you have such a young team, when is it just let's play out the season and work at it as we go?
It's a major concern. We definitely have to establish a running game in order to be successful. And the offensive staff has worked really hard trying to initiate the running game. But there's two things. Their defense was pretty good up front. And, again, we do have a young offensive line, and it's just way too many mistakes on the offensive line.
I'm sure another frustrating thing for you, as it would be for any Yellow Jacket fan who watched, the inability to finish off drives or to get in the end zone, because you're able to move the ball, it seems, throughout the game, but something, whether it be a penalty or just cannot convert on fourth downs, it's got to be frustrating.
No question, and that comes down to the running game. When you start running out of real estate, you need less room to run the ball. You need more room to throw the ball. So once we get down inside the red zone, we need to be able to push it in and basically through the running game.
Antoine Lyde for Virginia State had 173 yards rushing. I think they rushed for 246 yards total. Again, it's another on your defense, a mark against your defense. If you're watching film on your defense and you're going to play against your defense, what is it that these teams are able to do to get that kind of yard?
Well, right now, Virginia State had multiple offensive sets. And, again, we're a young defense, and we're making a ton of mistakes. 2 weeks ago, the offense for Central State was pretty simple, and we had a ton of mistakes. So I was worried going in that we're going against a complicated offense, or we're going to make more mistakes. So they had a lot of sets and motions, and we just didn't get adjusted to them. And that's on me to get our guys prepared to play. We keep saying they're young. They've got 2 games under their belt. They need to grow up in a hurry. We've got to get a victory, and we cannot allow them to continue to use that crutch as we're young. We've got to win football games. We've got to start eliminating mistakes and get in the win column. Now,
it's a whole different story when you're talking about the passing game. 273 yards this past weekend, over 200 yards in your first weekend. Is that out of necessity, though? Sometimes, when you can't run the ball, now you've got to pass?
No question. Again, Coach Shaw does a good job trying to establish the run, but when you can't run it, then you have to do whatever you can to try to win the football game. We've got some really good receivers, but again, you're putting pressure on a rookie quarterback. So that's another reason you like to establish the running game. But the quarterbacks, we played 2 quarterbacks this week. They both did well. And we know we've got some pretty potent receivers, and they were able to come down with some big catches for us and get us in the end zone 2 or 3 times.
Well, that was the next question that I had was you used Ricky Phillips. You may have found yourself another quarterback. Not that you didn't already have him on the roster, know about it, but he really performed well, especially in the second half.
No question. The 2 quarterbacks have been pretty close, all spring and all fall camp. Robert Jackson actually won the starting job, but Ricky Phillips is a capable quarterback, as he showed on Saturday. There's some packages and some things that he can do that Robert doesn't do. And Robert had a stiff knee. He hurt himself on the sideline, and we'd already put a couple packages in for Ricky this week to try to get him in the game this preseason, so to speak. And he performed well. We're really excited about the 2 quarterbacks and what they've done in the 2 games. So hopefully we can build off that and get that offensive show on the road.
Yeah, we'll take a look at some clips here where he is able to hit Benjamin Curse, one of your receivers, and get down the field. He was able to do that, it seemed like, at will, especially in the second half.
Again, Ricky's a smart quarterback, and then the offensive line gave him some protection. They gave him some time, so I'm proud of that. Again, if we can establish a running game, that would make our passing game even much more potent. So hopefully we can work on that this week, get some of our assignments down on the offensive line, and have a two-headed monster, so to speak, as run-pass offense.
Now let's take a look at another clip here coming up. It's another Ricky Phillips highlight, if you will, and he's going to find another receiver open. I believe this one is going to be another one to Jermaine King, and this is where he hits, kind of threads the needle for you here, right down on the end zone. I mean, that is just, we'll get another look at it and another angle here in a second, but that is just skill that you can't teach.
Excellent pass. As you can see, the offensive line, they form a pretty good pocket around him, and he doesn't panic. He steps up in the pocket, and Jermaine catches the ball between two receivers. It was a threaded needle, but Jermaine, he makes some awesome catches every single day.
You mentioned that Robert had a stiff knee. Was there any other thing that made you decide, was the also ineffectiveness because of the stiff knee that you went with?
No, we had a package put in for Ricky. He didn't get to play in the first game, and actually we want to see, which quarterback is going to show up under the bright lights of game time. And so we wanted to get him in. We had packages in for him, regardless if BJ got nicked up or not. And he came in and performed well.
You always want to talk about how does that set with the opening day quarterback, Robert. How did Robert take that?
I think he took it well. I mean, he was cheering for Ricky, and they were talking when they were on the sideline. I mean, it's a team effort for us, and that's what we preach every single day. And those guys have competed the whole time, and they wish the best for each other and the best for the football team.
Now, the score sounds lopsided at 34-21, but really in the second half, if you just break down the second half, you kept pace with Virginia State there and actually wound up tying them up 21-21 there in the second half.
We just couldn't get defensive stops when we needed. And again, it was some assignment issues that we've got to get cleaned up. Both weeks, we seem like we claw back and have a chance to win it. One break, one bounce of the ball, we may be able to get back and turn the game around, but we didn't make it happen. So hopefully this week the ball will bounce our way. The kids didn't quit. Again, it's one thing I'm really proud about. We're not playing good football right now. We're not playing well. But the one thing I am proud of, and we can build off of, is our kids are not quitting. They're fighting hard for 60 minutes.
Another player that emerged for you was Benjamin Curse. He had a great game for you, and we'll take a look at some video here of him. Talk about what he means to you in the program here at West Virginia State.
Ben is a kid we brought in from a California junior college. He was an older kid, and we thought he could add a little bit more dimension to the two wide receivers that we had, so they couldn't double team Jermaine King. And the first week, I guess he got the bright light jitters. His first three touches, I think, were kickoff return, a punt return, and a reverse, and he fumbled the three times he touched it. So he had 3 touches and 3 fumbles. So he was really down all week and doubting himself. So I'm glad he had a good week, because that's what we brought him in here for. We knew he was a big play receiver, and hopefully he can build off of the week he had last week.
And we'll go to the next one if we can pull up a video of another one with Curse, and this one will show some muscle, I think, that he uses to get out of bounds. I mean, again, things you can't teach, and I guess weight room helps as well.
Yes, he's a strong receiver, fast. And I think he's going to be a big play receiver for us. And again, I was proud to see that he got his confidence back this week. Had a few jitters the last week, but this is what we were looking for when we recruited Ben Curse out of California.
And let me ask you too, who else maybe made an impact for you during the ball game, Coach, that didn't maybe show up in a stat sheet?
Landon Johnson had some kickoff returns. Unfortunately, he had several kickoff returns because they scored touchdowns. But he was well over 200 yards and averaged probably 30 or 40 yards on kickoff returns. And he did an excellent job returning kickoffs for us.
And when you look at a stat sheet as a coach, what are you looking for, what that the average fan's not looking at?
Well, I'm not a big stat guy. I'm that guy that want to look at that stat over in the win column. Most offenses want to get 300 yards a game. Most defenses want to keep the offense under 300 yards a game. So that's the main thing that normally stands out. We like to keep offenses well under 300 yards a game. Coach Shaw would like to produce at least 300 yards a game. Other than that, we want to get the win. They say stats are for losers sometimes, but, they're pertinent to the game and what you need to work on and what you need to do. But the one stat we need real bad right now is a W for West Virginia State.
We're going to come back, fans, and we're going to talk to Jermaine King, the senior wide receiver, right here on the Coach's Corner.